Let's take a closer look at the 1/6 scale Moon Knight figure by Hot Toys. Hello and welcome again to Jacob's Toys. Please do like, share, subscribe and all of those things. All support to the channel is very much appreciated. In this video we're going to take a look at a very special Hot Toy indeed. It is of course the MCU Moon Knight figure. Now this one looks amazing, I'm not going to lie. It is the TMS 075 1/6 scale collectible Moon Knight figure. And I have to say a huge thank you to Toys on Fire, there we go, for sending this one over to me. I cannot wait to have a look at him, open him up and take a proper look. So without further ado, let's get this guy unboxed and let's see what he can do.
Okay, so straight away the box art is absolutely superb. There is a texture on the bandages that is slightly different than the rest of the box, so some of it's kind of reflective, but then the bandages feel a little bit more textured, almost like they are bandages. But the hieroglyphics there are really nice, and there's obviously pictures of Moon Knight. There's no actual imagery of the figure on the outer box, so you can't see what it looks like from the outer box, but as a box it's very nice indeed. It's a slipcase, so the top just comes off like so, and there we go, you see the figure in all of its glory with all of the moon weapons like the crescent weapons, as well as 8 additional alternate hands and the figure itself. There we go, he really does look quite cool. There's a handful of different textures, very in keeping with how he looked on the TV show, and there's a nice kind of Egyptian style piece of artwork on the back there of the suit as well. Now this is obviously based on Moon Knight from the MCU TV series that was aired on Disney Plus, so it's not comic book accurate, but one thing about this particular suit is it's very similar to that of the comic books as well, so it's quite in keeping with that of the character. So I really like the design of the suit and I am really chuffed and really excited to be adding this Moon Knight to my Hot Toys collection. There is something very satisfying aesthetically for a character in like a light coloured costume, I think, and Moon Knight is obviously made up a lot of whites and greys and kind of off greys, but it's just a really nice suit. Now you can see there all of the pieces. There's a couple of extra ball joints as well as 3 batteries, because he does have a light up feature like that in the show. His eyes do light up. Now one thing I didn't notice before I got hold of this was the incredibly huge display piece. So you've got a whole life-size crescent moon weapon. I don't even know what the technical term is for those, but there is a full-sized one of those. So that could either go with your props and replicas if you're a collector of kind of the replicas from the TV shows and the movies, or it can be used as a display piece, but we will get to that in a second. Let's just crack open the top of the clamshell. Only 2 pieces of packaging here, so one that contains the figure and the accessories and one that contains the stand. Now I'm always careful because I don't want to kind of overdo it. I don't want everything to kind of fly out. I just want to grab the instruction booklet, have a quick look at the instruction booklet just so that we can see exactly what you can and can't do with this particular figure. Oops, see, I've just dropped one of the moon weapons there, but we'll get to that in a second. So open up the instruction booklet. These are always worth having a look at. Any kind of Hot Toys collector will always take a look at the instruction booklet just because it shows you the exact limitations of the figure, as well as any potential features that you might have missed from promotional images or videos. Now I'm going to be totally honest, I didn't actually look too much into what the features of this figure were before getting my hands on it, because as I said, I'm a big Moon Knight fan anyway, so I wanted to add him to my collection. So by the looks of it here, there's quite a lot of articulation in the legs and arms, and also the whole headpiece comes off, and that's where you put the batteries, and it's almost like a whole light that goes inside the head. The cape has 4 bendy wires in it. The feet do come off as well. It shows you there you are limited to articulation in the ankle. Shows you how to attach the base piece, and also shows you the different ways that you can hold the various different weapons. So you can hold the 3 smaller ones like claws, or you can hold a bigger one kind of like a blade kind of weapon. But seeing that image there of the display piece, the base, has made me a little bit more excited because it actually displays up as opposed to down, which is a nice little touch. So let's put this back in the bag and let's get into the figure. So this is 1/6 scale, so it should scale nicely and in proportion with any of the other characters. So if you've got any of the other MCU characters, it should scale in proportion. But considering we haven't seen Moon Knight alongside any of the others, it's hard to kind of gauge exactly what that scale is. But it is 1/6 scale and it's a very kind of big piece. So let's open this up, let's get the base out, let's get the moon out. Now, it doesn't feel overly heavy, so I'm guessing this is like a hollow plastic crescent moon. And there we go, just put that to the side. And yeah, it's nice and light. It's not heavy at all, but it's very detailed. And yeah, there's like the inscriptions there. It basically looks exactly like one of his. It is only printed on one side, it's not double-sided, so you know, if you're using this as a cosplay, it might be a good little addition to a cosplay, but it's definitely a good addition to this particular figure. As always, you've got your stand, you've got your flexible clip stand, and you've got an additional piece there to sit the moon on, and then we've got the actual base piece. So it's one of the diamond shaped base pieces, so there are various different kind of bases that you get. I really like these diamond shaped ones because it has the little kind of plaque at the front, and it's also got kind of a metallic finish on the top. It's a really nice display piece, which I'm quite pleased about because, as I said, big fan of MoonKnight, so I'm glad that everything included here is something that I'd want to display. Now, of course, I'm going to do my best to kind of show you the articulation in the figure as well, and kind of swap some of those hands out and just sort of show you some of the display poses. But as this is the first time I've got it out of the box, I'm not going to go over the top, but we will have a look at a few pieces. So let's get this open and take a look. This is always the exciting part, I think, just to kind of see how it feels, how it looks kind of 360, because in the box they always look really nice. But these are really exceptional. They're actually really sharp and quite solid. So there's two larger ones there, so you can have them one in each hand. And I think, to be honest with you, I will probably display him holding at least one, maybe. You've got a whole bunch of different hands. So you've got ones here that hold the bigger moons. You've got ones that hold the smaller ones, as we saw in the booklet. I think this is the one for the bigger one. Let's have a look. Yeah, just slots in there. Just got to be a bit careful. Don't push too hard. But yeah, perfect. Perfect. It's got a nice metallic finish on those moons as well. You've also got open palm hands as well. So he's kind of doing that. I don't know, what kind of pose would you call that? Like the open palm pose. But yeah, that always looks quite good on. It looks quite dynamic on figures if you get them in like a dynamic pose. We've also got some spare ball joints there, and of course you've got your mini moons as well. So there's 3 for each hand, and they're slightly different sizes, so it kind of goes down. I probably won't use these ones, to be fair, just because I do prefer the bigger ones. I prefer the look of the bigger ones, so I'm going to take those out of the box anyway, so that I've got them if I need them or if I want to swap them around. Got the batteries, 3 of the little batteries. It's always a plus that these come with batteries. I suppose at the price point they are, you would kind of expect them to come with batteries, so just be careful because the cape is fed through a plastic window there, a plastic kind of letterbox. And he's got plastic across his boots and his hands, so we are going to have to take those off. So let me just get rid of the box and let me get those plastic bits off. And there he is in a bit more of a natural looking pose. The head just comes off very easily, and you've got like a whole light block here with the switch and everything, so it's very easy and very accessible to actually switch the batteries out and also turn him on and off for display or photography purposes. The cape is really nice as well. It's all tattered at the bottom, which is a nice touch because it pretty much looks how it did in the show. I'm curious as to see whether it's a big crescent moon when it's all kind of spread out, but all in all, so far so good. Right, let me just get a screwdriver and open this head panel up and put the batteries in so we can see the light up eyes. With the power of editing, there we go, the batteries are now in. The switch just located on the front there, just switch it over, and there we go, it's a pretty bright light. So we leave that on, stand the head up, put the head back on, and there we go, the eyes light up. And you can see even in this quite kind of harsh studio lighting, the eyes are quite predominantly lit up, so it's a good light. So I'm interested to see what this looks like in the dark. Articulation, there's a bit of a limited articulation there in his shoulder, and you can see the costume is quite tight under his armpit, so I wouldn't want to push that up too high, so that's a little bit disappointing. And there isn't much movement in the abs either, so you can't move the chest forward because of the front plate piece, and you can't twist it left to right too much. In the knees, you've got those 2 points of articulation in the knees. Here's what they said in the instruction manual about the ankles, so you kind of can have a little bit of movement there, but I wouldn't force it too much. So that's a little bit disappointing because you can't have his feet kind of pointing down unless you bend the knees. But yeah, that's a little bit of a shame, but not too much. I mean, you can still get him in a pretty dynamic kind of jumping pose like that. The cape, as I said, there's 4 bendy wires in there, and there we go, there's the crescent moon kind of styled cape. It's quite a large cape, which again is a real plus because in the show he had this huge cape, and obviously the character has this huge cape as well. But all in all, this is a very awesome figure. There, even though there is a little bit of limited articulation in the shoulders and in the chest sort of stroke abs, that really doesn't bother me too much because the dynamic kind of poses you can get him into, I think it's going to be less kind of jumping poses and more kind of standing there and utilizing the cape to create sort of that dynamic element of the pose. The back is just as detailed as well, even though you're not going to see that because it's under the cape. But yeah, all in all, this is a very, very awesome looking figure. And if you're a fan of MoonKnight, or a fan of the MoonKnight TV show at least, this is an absolute must-have for any Hot Toys collector. He looks absolutely stunning. I like the subtlety as well of the light up eyes. They are really bright, but it's, there's no light bleed anywhere, so it's not kind of bleeding out through the hood or anything like that. It really is just coming out through the eye holes, which is a nice touch. Now, the thing I have found about these hands is they are a little bit difficult to get the other hands on. You've got to really work them in there because of the cuff pieces on the wrists, but you can see there it's easy to swap them out for a pose or a display purpose. That's quite a cool pose. Now, like a lot of Hot Toys collectors, essentially he's going to be displayed in like a museum-esque pose in my display cabinet, but I do like to get them out and kind of take photos with them and do a bit of action figure photography as well. And I think with the flexibility of his cape, the addition of the light up eyes, and the limited but still pretty good articulation within the figure, it's going to give me a nice variety of options when it comes to poses and stuff. I'm going to have to try to get some done outside. Now, this piece here just slides over the top of the stand, and you kind of put it as high or as low as you want. Like with all Hot Toy stands, you just screw this bendy wire bit into the actual base, and it holds it nice and solidly. And then you twist this round so that it's kind of forward focus, and then you get the moon and you just slide it in, and just keep sliding it in until it's tight, but obviously don't push it too much, you don't want to snap anything, but you get it in kind of a standard moon position. And there we go, you can slide it up and down, have it as high or low as you want. Now, unfortunately, you can see the display stand through the moon, but when you put MoonKnight in there, you can see he kind of covers up that stand, and yeah, that looks really nice. Let's have a little bit of a closer look just so you can see just how detailed this figure is. The bandages look like bandages. The gold bits of the costume really stand out. There's a really nice kind of texture change when it goes down to the legs. There's all like the hieroglyphics there. The boots, again, it's just really detailed. There's a lot of detail in the figure, and it's pretty much spot on to how he looked in a television show. All in all, this is a really awesome figure. Really, really awesome figure.